Welcome to this restorative practice for your menstrual phase. This practice is very gentle, very grounding, and aims to promote a bit of soothing during your flow days. Whether you are experiencing cramping or a bit of fatigue, this restorative practice is very accessible and will meet you exactly where you are. Even though this is a restorative practice, it benefits from a bit of effort in the beginning. So, creating some pillars of support that can help you relax more deeply in the postures. So, I'm offering the practice with a few props that you might or might not have in your home, but there's always ways to create these props from things you probably do have in your home. So for today, if you have a block or two, that can be helpful. If you have a very thick and sturdy blanket, that can provide a lot of support. And then we're also using a bolster in some of these postures to create that really grounded, comforting feeling. And the bolster that I have is a typical yoga bolster, but you can make your own by using a couple of different things. If you have two very firm pillows, you can stack them on top of each other and wrap a towel around to create that thick cushion. You can also roll up a yoga mat and kind of flatten the roll out a little bit so it's a bit wider, and just place a blanket over top or even wrap a blanket around or a towel around. If you don't have yoga blocks and you're using something like a really sturdy book, or maybe you have a very sturdy box that you're using, I just recommend having a towel or a blanket to place over the top, as we'll be entering a lot of postures where you're resting the forehead on the block. So you want it to be comfortable, soft, and soothing for you. In this practice, I invite you to really just remain open to anything that's arising in the body. So in the menstrual phase, we have less hormonal interference. And so it's an opportunity to really let anything come to light that's needing more clarity. So we have more communication between left and right sides of the brain. So it's sort of that emotional and mental energy can be more aligned. So we can create more union there as we enter this next cycle. So take a moment to grab your props, get your space set up. I recommend having low light, maybe lighting a candle, or having some essential oils, some grounding essential oils like lavender or rose oil to really infuse your practice with that sense of calm and ease. This is a great one to use right before bed. And as you enter the restorative mode, the goal is really to find not the place where you're exerting the most effort, but the place where you are receiving the most benefit. So you're not in your deepest twist, you're not in your deepest forward bend, and that's okay. You want to be in that place that you can relax into, where you can soften the entire body and really let your mind be curious about that. So these postures are simple. The holds are long. We're here for a long time in each shape, which is different than some of the more dynamic and fluid practices. So if you're someone like me and your mind tends to get a bit anxious, or like it wants to have a bit more complexity to fixate on, can you let yourself be interested? Can you let every breath, every shape that you're creating with your body be worthy of your attention? It's part of this theme in our self-love series, is how can you make yourself worthy of your own attention? So let's get started with today's movement practice. Welcome to this restorative yoga practice for your menstrual phase. This is a very grounding, very gentle sequence that aims to help soothe the body and shift you into relaxation. In today's practice, as I mentioned in the intro, we are using or have the opportunity to use several different props. I have a bolster, I have a few blocks, and a blanket. And I've provided some different ways that you can create these props on your own with items you likely have in your house. But don't sweat it if you want to just use your own body for this practice. There are ways to enjoy the restorative quality of this practice as well without using any props. So I'll provide both options as we move through. We'll begin today in a child's pose. So our first opportunity to use a prop. If you have 2 firm pillows, you can use those in lieu of a bolster. You can also take a yoga mat and roll it up to provide this little bit of support for child's pose. So we'll bring the big toes to touch, the knees come out nice and wide. And then I like to prop the bolster or your pillows up a little bit onto the blocks. If you don't have that, you can do this on the ground and just have your arms out to the side. If you do have them propped up, you might thread your arms under and just give your bolster a squeeze. And so I'll demonstrate without the blocks what this might look like. So if you just have a pillow or a rolled up yoga mat, you're just providing a bit of support for the upper body so that there's no strain, no gripping in the low spine. As you rest here for a few moments, just let your body become very heavy. Feel the points of contact with your mat or with the floor. And begin to deepen your breath so that you feel your belly expand into the surface beneath you. And so creating a bit of structure to the breath in and out through the nose, but without excessive control. So letting it flow freely, naturally, just guiding it a bit deeper into the chest, into the belly. In this opening posture, I'm just acknowledging anything that you are showing up with, be it a cognitive load or something in your emotional body. And just be here with that now. Your flow days can be a sacred time of release. So really creating that intention for this practice, that we're moving into these shapes that give the body an entry point to letting go. Let your transitions be slow today. So as you're ready, gently pressing up. You can move your bolster to the top of your mat now, just so that you have some space to come to a seat. And so we'll transition to a cross-legged position. This is where if you have tight hip flexors or it's difficult to sit in this cross-legged position, you can always sit on the bolster or sit on your blanket. Just elevate the sits bones ever so slightly to create that added bit of comfort. And then let the spine rise up tall. We'll enjoy several rounds of breath together, adding some movement with the arms to really map our physical body onto the breath and kind of drop in to deeper presence here. So as you're ready, inhale, sweep the arms nice and wide. Let the palms touch overhead, interlace the fingers, and as you exhale, match the movement to your breath. Press your palms down all the way to the base of your spine. On your next inhale, turn the hands inside out, straighten the arms, reach them overhead. Let the shoulders stay soft, away from the ears. And as you exhale, release your arms down by your sides. We'll move through that twice more. Inhale, reach up, create this huge circle of energy. Interlace the fingers, press the palms down on your exhale, match the movement to the breath. Turn the fingers, the palms inside out as you inhale. And then let it go as you exhale. The arms float down. Last one like this. Inhale. Fingers interlace, palms press. Exhale. Inhale, arms reach overhead. And exhale, let it go. From here, side bend. Take your right hand out to the side. If you like, it can be nice to have a block there just so that you're not creating excessive strain in the spine. So you can place a block under your right hand, stretch the left arm up and over. Then you might bring your forearm to the block, just wherever you need to be to create sensation in the side body without strain. So it's that place that you can relax into. So in a more solar activating practice, we might recruit that strength as we stretch. So we might want to sort of hold the body in space. But in today's practice, the goal is to find a place where you can really rest and relax into the posture. Slowly rise up. Take your left hand to your right ear. Encourage your left ear to your left shoulder. You can leave the right arm outstretched or wrap it around behind you. Reach for the left hip crease. And then here I like to take the hand to the base of the skull, maybe reaching for the occipital ridge and just kind of provide some gentle traction. So almost like you're lifting the head up and out. And then you can move the chin from side to side, really release any tension that is built up in the neck and shoulders. And then slowly reaching both arms up here. We'll switch sides now. Left hand comes down either to the mat or to a block. Right arm reaches up and overhead. So let the sitting bones heavily anchor into the mat and lift up through both sides of the waist evenly. Again, you can come down onto a forearm here to create a bit more sensation wherever you need to be to really let go. Maybe send your gaze toward the earth. Anytime we move the gaze toward the ground, that creates a bit of calming. Slowly come up, take your right hand to your left ear, encourage your right ear to your right shoulder. And the same thing on this side, you might choose to take your left hand behind you, reach for your right hip crease. And just accessing a bit deeper into the neck and shoulders. And then if you like to create that traction, just lifting up on the base of the skull, literally creating more space between the bones in the neck. And this very important part of the spine that often gets a bit locked up can affect the throat center, the way we communicate, the way we articulate what we're thinking and feeling. So just in that spirit, creating space here to allow for more freedom of expression. And slowly reach the arms up. And as you exhale, fold over your legs any amount. Again, here we're going to be taking the block with us most postures where we go. So for this forward bend, just rest your forehead on the block. So it might be at the low height, maybe a bit higher. And if you're using a household item, something that maybe doesn't have a soft surface to rest your forehead on, you might just take a soft towel or a blanket and place it over top. You can also position yourself near a chair if that's more readily available, and just be resting on the chair here. So we're just exploring this forward bend with absolute support for the body. In Sanskrit, the word is salamba, supported. It's where we create a bit more comfort, a bit more of a container for the shape. When in the menstrual phase, so important to allow lots of space. So taking your time, letting everything be very slow, intentional. Slowly rise up as you're ready. And as you inhale, reach the arms overhead. And take your right hand to your left knee, left fingertips behind you. Lift up through the spine for a gentle twist. Maybe gaze over your left shoulder, creating a bit of tone in the belly, but not so much that it inhibits your breath. So you should be able to expand and contract the belly very freely here. Come through center, inhale, both arms reach. To the other side now, left hand to the right knee, right hand behind you. Gentle twist. Maybe gazing over the right shoulder. And then slowly come up again, both arms reach overhead. Take your fingertips behind you and lift up through the heart space. Soften the shoulders down the spine. From the breastbone, can you really lift up? And then allow the sitting bones to reach down, to root down. From here, switching the cross of your legs, so allowing the ankles to cross in the opposite direction. Reaching the arms up, we'll enjoy another forward bend, but with the hips in the opposite cross here. And just notice if it feels different. Is the left hip tighter than the right, or the right hip tighter than the left? And what might your body be trying to tell you with that sensation? It can be anything from the way you move your body throughout the day to how you slept last night. So just giving yourself that opportunity to notice these little sensations. Slowly rise up as you're ready, setting your block off to the side. We'll now shift to tabletop. So in your own way, coming to hands and knees. Let your shoulders be over your wrists, gentle bend in the elbow, sway your hips side to side. We'll move through cat and cow spine here now. As you inhale, soften the belly. Let the gaze float up, shine the sitting bones back. And on your exhale from the sitting bones round, ripple up the spine through the back of the heart, chin to chest. Press down through the hands. Again, inhale. Send the sitting bones back, ripple up the spine, gaze floats up. And exhale. So part of the premenstrual and menstrual phase theme is to simplify. So I'm guilty of this in movement practice, especially when the mind tends to check out. We need more novelty or more complexity to draw it back in. And so instead today, can you become captivated in the simplicity of these movements? So the idea that your spine can move the way that it does, can that become infinitely interesting? Can it be worthy of your attention for an entire practice? There are days where I arrive at my mat and child's pose is the only pose that I practice. So where is there a bit of comfort in that simplicity? Last round here. Really freeing the spine. Then slowly begin to lower onto your belly, clear any props that might be in your way. And come on to the forearms for Sphinx pose. This is one of my favorite back bends, and one that I didn't discover until much later in my practice, because for that very reason, it didn't seem exciting enough or worthy enough of spending some time in. But can you really start to observe what's available in this posture? Root down through the hip points, stretch back through your legs, press into your forearms, elevate the heart, broaden the collarbones, and let the hips sway here from side to side. Can you drop the chin to the chest? Really free the back of the neck. Notice how the sensation changes throughout the body as you do this. And then allow your chin to move from side to side, maybe circle it. Coming up and back down. Notice if there's any point in this motion where your shoulders naturally shrug. And that's can be a bit of a sticky point. Can you just breathe and move through it? When you notice that sort of unconscious reaction in the body, can you then create a different pathway by softening the shoulders, deepening the breath? And then as you're ready, coming all the way down onto the belly, you can pillow your hands under your forehead for a breath. Bend the knees, allow your lower legs to windshield wiper back and forth. And then bring your right ear to the mat, let your arms find a cactus shape, and slide your right knee out to the side. And this doesn't have to look a particular way, but if you can, extend the lower leg directly out from the knee so you have this nice wide angle in the right knee. Ground supported twist here. Notice any gripping you might feel in the right groin, the right hip. Can you soften there? Again, in the menstrual phase, we're wanting to relax the pelvic floor, the root lock, such that energy can flow and release. So here, notice if the tendency is to close the base of the spine. So that sort of Kegel contraction, can you create the opposite effect? So softening, radiating outward. Breathing here, again, how can you make this shape worthy of your attention? Just scanning the body in sort of waves from head to toe. Then start to reach your left fingertips out. So the arm is out to a T. Crawl your right fingertips under your right shoulder. Then you'll start to turn onto your left hip for a shoulder opener on the left side. So you can now bring your left ear to the mat. And you be the guide here. So full expression, you can take your right foot to the outside of your left leg, keeping the knee bent. Maybe your hips rotate all the way to the sky. And let your head and neck relax. It might be a little bit too intense in the chest and the shoulder, so you can just come onto the left side if that feels better. Maybe moving somewhere in between. If you want a deeper shoulder stretch, chest stretch still, you can reach your right fingertips back behind you. And you might try to connect the hands behind you, a bit of a proprioception challenge here to know where your limbs are in space. If you can, clasp the fingers, but don't sweat it if they don't connect. And can you be in the practice of accepting and letting go? As you slowly return your right fingertips to the mat, begin to roll back onto the belly. Walk your right arm out in front of you. thread the left arm under right. And bring your forehead to the mat here. Just now stretching the outer left arm. Feeling the circulation, maybe return into your left arm, your left fingertips. And then bring your right fingertips underneath the shoulder, the elbow, and we'll reopen once again. So rolling onto the back, this time keeping your right knee bent so that you come into a spinal twist. And here we'll have some different options for this twist. So your right knee is crossing over the body. Arms can be in a cactus shape. If you have a bolster or your yoga mat, you can place it under the length of your lower leg, under your knee, so that you can really relax that bent knee. So there's no gripping. You can really be in receiving of this twist. You can also do this with just a block. If you have a block, you can place the block under your knee. Again, just providing a bit of support. So it might feel good to have it on the highest elevation, maybe the midpoint. Wherever you can, release the weight of your leg into the support. So again, notice if low spine or low belly tend to grip here. Can you create that intention of softening and then let that radiate all the way around, particularly if you're experiencing any cramps during this time in the cycle. Just really creating that flood, that radiant relaxation. Come back onto the belly now. Shift your block out of the way if it's there. And just pillow the hands here for a moment. Observe the difference from one side to the other. Sway the hips, sway the sacrum. Now we'll move to the other side. So you can cactus your arms and bring your left ear to the mat. So I'll keep my right ear on the mat just for sound quality here so that it doesn't become too muffled, but you can have left ear to the mat, left knee out to the side, and really let that leg be heavy. So can you create a bit of inertia, a bit of gravity with the left hip point, really anchor it down. And then notice that gentle pressure as you breathe, belly into the floor underneath you. Giving you just a nice way to strengthen your breath. Again, focusing your awareness on anything that's arising in the body. And then as you're ready, extend your right arm out to T. Let your left fingertips come underneath your shoulder. And begin to turn onto the right hip. Maybe step your left foot behind you. You can have right ear to the mat now. Maybe you turn your hips toward the sky. Maybe you stay on the right side of the body. So the focus here is on the right shoulder, right chest. Can you let the eyelids be soft or maybe even closed? Relax any tension in the jaw, the mouth. Soften the eyebrows. And then as you come back onto the belly, take your left arm out in front of you, thread your right arm underneath you. So now stretching the outside of that right arm. Forehead can rest on the mat, or you can even pillow a hand there. Squaring the shoulders as best as you can. And you can keep your left knee out to the side if that feels good. Just again receiving that very gentle hip opening, a bit of awakening for the psoas. And then from here, we'll slowly begin to open the upper body. So turning onto the back. Now the left knee crossing the body in a spinal twist. So again, you have your options for support here. You can take your yoga mat, your pillows, your bolster, and just kind of almost like you're creating that sleep position. Let your knee rest on the pillow, on the support. You can send your gaze over left shoulder. And then from here, we'll stay on the back, so you can come all the way onto your back. Let your props slide off to the side. If you have a block here, we'll use it under the base of the spine. So come into sort of preparation for a bridge. Then begin to lift your hips and come onto the flat part of the spine. So you want the block underneath the sort of triangular bone, the sacrum at the base of the spine. So it's not impinging on your low lumbar spine, but really that stable plate at the base. Just notice how supported bridge feels. Just a very gentle inversion where the hips are slightly elevated, slightly above the heart. And then we'll start to give the psoas a bit of love here. So start to hug your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg out long. Let the heel rest on the earth. So even with very slight elevation in the hips, you now might feel the left side, the left psoas getting a stretch. So can you create separation in the thigh bones, all the while keeping the shoulders relaxed? And breathe here. Really anchor the left heel, press the sole of the left foot in the opposite direction, so lengthening the leg. Might not look like much from the outside, but there's a lot of mobility happening here, a lot of space being offered. And then bend your left knee, bring the foot to the mat. Cross your right ankle over left, and just for a moment, bring the legs toward your body. So we can't really move into full figure four or supine pigeon with the block underneath, but just allowing a bit of that outer hip stretch here. Relaxing the left foot back down again, extend the right leg straight up any amount, circle the foot in one direction and then the other. So this, anytime we get the legs up in this shape, legs up the wall, kind of this gentle inversion, we're increasing blood flow to the heart. That signals to the heart that it's okay to beat more slowly. There's enough of that blood flow to support everything the body needs. And then release. Coming back through supported bridge, just noticing again how the different sides feel. Then hug your left knee into chest, extend your right leg out long, press the foot away. For me, this side much tighter than the other. So immediately feeling that sort of tendency to grip deep in the low belly. This muscle of the psoas connects the lumbar spine to the hip. So by awakening the front of the body, you might feel some sensation in the low back. It's this deep musculature in the base, in the hips. We perform so many of our vital movement functions. And we can hold a lot of energy there, a lot of tension. So part of what we're doing in this phase of the cycle is creating space, is releasing and letting that go, so that we enter this new cycle with greater clarity. Bend your right knee, bring your foot to the mat. Cross your left ankle over right, and then just bring the legs closer to your body. And relax that right foot down once again. Interlace your fingers behind your left thigh. Press the sole of the left foot skyward. And then circle the foot one direction and the other. You can bring both knees, both feet down now. Gently press up to remove the block. And set it off to the side here. You can windshield wiper your legs, both directions, just freeing the base of the spine, a bit of massage for the sacrum. And then just a bit of a preview of what's coming next, because it does require a bit of setting up. So wanting to keep your mind from getting overactive, just offering this gentle preview so that you can be prepared. So we are getting ready for our final resting posture. And I want to give you some options based on what you have available. So if you are without props and you're just wanting to enjoy your resting posture here, you can bring the knees to touch, let your feet be wide apart, and let your hands land on your body somewhere that you can rest the backs of the arms and keep the shoulders relaxed. So that's one option here. If you are near a wall, another option would be to shimmy your hips close to the wall and turn to put your legs up the wall. Added bonus if you have a bolster or a pillow or blanket nearby where you can rest the base of the spine. So another option there for a restorative rest. If you have a few props available, you might gently press up to a seat. And I like to use a rolled up blanket or a bolster here. So you can bring the rolled up blanket along the length of your spine, and then allow the base of your spine, your sits bones, to be right in front of that blanket. You can bring a pillow or another rolled up blanket or a yoga mat under your knees. And again, you can use a yoga mat here instead of a blanket, depending on what you have. And so that's touching the base of the spine here, and then just slowly relax your back onto the support. And ideally, you want your head to be slightly off the blanket so that your throat can remain open. So this is another option for your final resting posture. Just provides a bit of heart opening, a bit of space in the front body to support any emotional clearing that needs to happen. And we will be here for a few minutes more, just really allowing the body to receive. Let this be a resting posture. Create more space between each breath. And can you see that distance reflected in your thoughts as they slow down. Maybe they become less intense, or you can just let your mind rest in the present moment, in your physical body. So even the gesture of adding a bit of support under the knees, it's just one way to show your self-love. Too often, I think we neglect ourselves with these small but significant gestures. You wouldn't think twice about offering this support to someone you love. So, how can you start from the inside out? Show yourself that same affection, that same care. So I will close our practice together from this resting posture, such that you can stay as long as possible, particularly if you are enjoying this before bed. Really allow your body to melt into the floor. Let this be in an effort to hit the relaxation button, to really ease into rest. As always, I want to thank you for joining me and for letting your body be moved.